They just want to help out and just save the children. What did Herod do?
When Herod saw that he was mocked of the wise men,
when he seen the wise men refused his order, go ahead,
was exceeding wroth.
He was upset, go ahead,
and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem.
And he sent a sword to kill all of the children which were in Bethlehem. What?
And in all the coast thereof.
Go ahead.
From 2 years and under.
From 2 years and under from the time he gave the order. So don't tell me these abortion programs and all this is not part of history and you cannot read this in the Bible. This is politics. You cannot read the Bible and not understand politics. These are all governments under Daniel's prophecy that would rule our people. And it was a prophecy that Daniel was given so that we'll know how many empires we would have to serve before receiving the promises of Abraham. That's why the Most High gave us an insight with Daniel's prophecy. He gave us an insight with Revelations. So we'll know how long we as a people of Israel would have to suffer under the hands of the Idumeans, under the past empires. And now that our captivity is coming near an end, they're looking to destroy us right out altogether. And that's what the one world government is really about. It's not about global warming. It's not about austerity. They just put things in place to squeeze us so that we don't know that our squeezing is coming from an unseen hand. So they're creating situations to separate themselves so that you can identify them directly. They set up foundations and institutions and these different type of associations to do these things so that you have no idea. It's one idea, one corporation, one all-seeing eye at the top of this pyramid controlling it all. Now, let's get into this real quick. There's some games coming in the Olympics this year, 2012, over in London. All right? Now, we know that Olympics, and I'm going to do a lesson on this very soon, and we're going to touch on this tomorrow with the news segment within the Academy. All right? That the Olympics are games to the gods. Now, these games are sometimes, believe it or not, and they don't tell you this, these games will accumulate until the point where they're games to the gods or sacrifice to the gods. Like if you look at ancient Colosseum movies under Rome, where it was barbaric, where they would have our people who are Christians who were thrown in the arenas to fight lions, to fight tigers, or to fight each other to the death. Some of our people who are Christians, and we know that Acts 13 tell you that they were black, that sometimes when they throw us in arenas, we wouldn't do anything, just sit down and let the tiger kill us. Or just sit there and get beheaded before a mob in Rome. It was barbaric. But we're living in a more what you would call civil society where the kill is slow. The kill is soft. The sacrifice is soft opposed to the straight out barbaric. But nonetheless, the same result. So they have prepared us with all these games to the gods. They've built coliseums all over the earth. Football games, basketball coliseums, all these coliseums to prepare for one big sacrifice. So you can't get the sacrifice every time you see a game. But they're going to do a sacrifice sooner or later in one of these coliseums that's going to make up for all the times people didn't die in it. Even in the past, when you see these people dying at football games in Africa or in the Middle East or in Mexico, and the people are storming the field, and you think that it's because they like their team and that's how the media spins it? Come to find out, especially knowing people who were in Egypt, the last time when that happened in Egypt, they have agent provocateurs within the Colosseum with knives and things, that start riots, so that people get trampled over and die as a sacrifice to the gods of the game that day. This is how deep these things are, brothers and sisters. You have unseen hands operating, and then they'll report that some people were just fanatic for their team. It's never what they report. Okay? The news is not to report truth. The news is to make an alibi, to cover the agenda of the satanic Rockefellers in the one world governments. Now, I read this, and this is in Nation News, regular news, brothers and sisters. And this is mainstream, Dave Zen, mainstream news, nation.com, mainstream, and it's talking about the preparation for the London Olympics. And mind you, it's not just the London Olympics. This is the year in which Queen Elizabeth is in her Jubilee. Now, Queen Elizabeth is not from England, brothers and sisters. Her bloodline links directly to the Khazars and the vampires over there in Transylvania. Okay, this thing, she's not even English. But you can believe that in order to operate within that family, and she linked directly to Herod also, it requires a sacrifice. What are we reading in Matthew, the 2nd chapter? Sacrifices to the gods of the Romans. Them killing them children 2 years and back. Innocent children we read of in the Bible. Why? Because they're looking to kill our Lord and Savior. Same things today. They know that what the news publicizes about us is not really us. Can you imagine the Jewish Defense League and how they'll be operating right now and what they'll be saying if they were showing every other day on TV Jewish people eating people? There'll be an uproar. There will be an investigation on who are these people, who are they frequent, where did they come from, is there any government ties, were they under any type of psychotropics? Shouldn't you want to figure these things out? If they were Jewish, they would figure it out. If these were two Chinese people eating people and being called zombies, you would have the Chinese League or the Asian League coming out trying to figure out, because why? That's indicative of their society. They don't want to be vilified based on two roads. So they need an answer. So my question is, where's the black leaders coming out trying to get to the bottom of this? And why these people are being vilified? That will lead to a war against minorities, claiming that this is some organic drug that black drug dealers are using in a society that threatens the well-being of the ghetto. That's how they're going to try to spin this thing. When all these people they're using, believe it or not, brothers and sisters, were under psychotropics under the government as a pretext to kill us off. Who cares about two people? Listen, put them in a room and let them eat each other if that's what they want to do. But why is they publicizing this? It's not the two people that were eating homeless people that you have to worry about. They don't even care about homeless people. They experiment on homeless people. They're using this as a pretext so that you can fear and need government armies amongst you. The same way government armies were amongst our people in 70 AD and destroyed us. Drones, missiles, and gunships, oh my. Welcome to the 2012 London Olympics. Mainstream news. How are we tying this together? We're going to show you how it's tied together. Read this article, if you can. I know it's small writing, if you can. Thank you.
As many as 48,000 security forces, 13,500 troops, surface-to-air missiles stationed on the top of residential apartment buildings, a sonic weapon that disperses crowds by creating head-splitting pain, unarmed drones peering down from the skies.
Man, they got weapons on the top of roofs that can be aimed towards people and cause pain. They have weapons on residential areas right now all through the UK, especially in London, with these new arenas. Finish reading.
A safe zone cordoned off by an 11-mile electrified fence.
They got an electrified fence. I thought this was the Olympics. I thought this was about us having fun and games and peace. Read.
A safe zone cordoned off by an 11-mile electrified fence.
They got an 11-mile electrified fence. And one can only imagine what it's really there for. But I'm just going to give you the facts of what's there. I'll leave it up to you to decide what it's for. Okay? Read on.
Ringed with trained agents and 55 teams of attack dogs. One would be forgiven for thinking that these were counterinsurgency tactics used by U.S. Army bases in Iraq and Afghanistan, or perhaps
some would think that they was in a war zone. Some would think we were in Afghanistan or Iraq, even though there's no war in Afghanistan, brothers and sisters. Never was. These guys are taking care of goats and you know what I mean? There ain't no war there. They claim that they killed bin Laden in Afghanistan. Oh, in Pakistan. Well, if you killed him in Pakistan, which he was dead since 2001, everyone already know. That's just their narratives. Then what you doing in Afghanistan then? I'm still trying to... What do the uniforms of the Afghanis troops look like? It's about the poppy seed, brothers and sisters. It's about those drugs, those psychotropics. Because the drugs is what they use. The hallucinogens is what they use. That's their key weapon in this war against us. It's the drugs, the hallucinogens, the hallucinogens that can separate us spiritually from our God, and to have us not understand anything that's going on. And they can use that against us. And then the banks, because if it's illegal, you can't tax it. So the banks control it, untaxed finances. They can set up their own drug cartels to demoralize and destroy a society with drugs without tax. Money come right back to the bank, tax free. And then on top of that, because it's illegal, they can lock you up for having it, even though they have given it to you, and have you work in their slave camps, which are prisons, for free. That's what it's really about. Okay? There will never be a such thing as legalizing drugs. That's their weapon. So there's no war on drugs. The war have always been on us. Have always been on us. This is what they use. They sensationalize these drugs, all in your movies and all that. And then they teach your children about the drugs in school. A lot of these drugs children don't even know about until the school introduces it to them by trying to warn them against it. See, that's the psycho trick they use. I'm going to warn them about a drug they have never heard of. When really, by mentioning the drug, at least one of those children are going to try to figure out where is this drug. See, if you didn't mention it, they wouldn't be educated at all about it. They wouldn't know it existed.